So
Yep.
she did it, and it was difficult because he didn't want tea. So she
He
did
was
this
like, no. She had to do it multiple times.
Yeah. Yep.
He was
And
like,
then
no,
the
I'm
last
good.
panel,
The
I was
last
just
panel.
like,
Yeah.
he's like, what is this white stuff? I don't want to drink
This is white stuff
this."
floating on top. I can't drink this.
Oh my god! And then
Incredible.
the woman who's just like the whole time they're laughing about this story. She's just like, "What white stuff? I don't understand." Hello and welcome to the VF Comics podcast. I'm Marcus.
I'm Megan.
Hi, I'm Tom. Wait a second.
This week we're gonna talk about stuff and things.
Megan, that might be the worst impression of me I've ever heard.
It's just
What
very
the hell
generic.
is going on with my ears? I'm hearing two Marcuses.
Well, anyways, as fake, Marcus said, because I'm worried that if we gave Tom a gun, he wouldn't know which to shoot.
What is happening?
I promise I'm the real Marcus. But as fake Marcus said, this is a VF Comics and Graphics podcast, and this week is our book club week, and it's our first book club week, and we are going to talk about the amazing Embroideries by Marjane Satrapi. And I'm really, really excited about it. This book was amazing. I am going to actually plan on reading it again later today.
I thought you were gonna say, I actually plan on reading it.
It should be good. But before we do anything, now the people, if you're listening to this, you're gonna be listening to this 2 days later than we record it. But recording today, we're recording today on Sunday, and it's Tom's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Hey, thank you so much.
I
Thank
didn't know
you.
it was
Birthday to
today.
you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
singing.
dear Tom. Happy birthday to you.
Well, you did that. Good job.
Yeah.
Yay, Tom!
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Tom,
that's
how old are you
exciting.
today?
37. 37.
All right. So
Yeah.
No,
I
you're
give you
not.
30
Yeah,
and spank it
yeah.
later.
Why do you
37.
look so young?
I
Oh
don't-
my god.
I don't know, but
Stop.
I'm so glad that I do. Like it is. That's
Oh
good
my
news.
Megan,
gosh,
the question
I'm
is,
so
why
mad
do you
right
look
now.
so old?
I know. I'm so mad. Oh my god.
My wife gets real pissed about it too. She's always like, "Oh my
Yes.
god."
It's not fair.
You
Oh my God,
youthful
that's
piece
awesome.
of garbage.
What are y'all doing? Are you doing anything today?
We took today pretty chill, and we just
Mm-hmm.
played a lot of Magic and ate a lot of junk food yesterday. So it was pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Solid.
You ate cheeseburgers yesterday? That was delicious.
Yes.
Played
Yes.
a ton of Magic. And then
That's what we
apparently there's a Discord that I'm a part of that I never participate in. And
Oh,
so some
yeah.
people who haven't met me don't think I exist. One of those people saw me yesterday and was like, oh, he's real, and took a picture of me and him.
Yeah, that
to post on the Discord.
Oh yeah,
my
that
Oh heck yeah.
Yes.
I love
That's
it.
fantastic. So there's an entire Discord out there that doesn't think I exist, and it's like finding Santa Claus. Like, there he
Amazing.
is. Or Bigfoot. Probably closer to Bigfoot than Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Yes.
So y'all doing anything special tonight? You just gonna keep chilling?
We're gonna make Melinda's making some spaghetti bolognese.
Mm.
And then I don't know, we might watch a movie or something like that.
You need to watch the new Spider-Man.
I know. Yeah, that might
Like,
be
You
that
haven't
might be a good one.
seen
Yeah,
it?
I
yeah,
haven't yet.
Oh.
you
We
have
were
to.
gonna go, and then Omicron
Mhm.
surged, and so we were dodging the theater. And so, yeah, I've managed to avoid spoilers.
That is amazing.
During the
Amazing.
Oscars last week, there was a
The
couple of times
Oscars
where I
really tried
jumped on
hard.
him.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Dang, that's awesome.
I muted everything on social media that was
Uh-huh.
tagged with that, and
There was one clip where the
Nice.
second it went off, like I jumped on top of Tom and put my hands
yeah,
around his face
covered
and
my
said, "Cover your
eyes.
ears."
Yeah, because
Yay, okay. Good
I'm really excited
friend.
for it. I love Spider-Man so much. He's definitely uh my favorite superhero, and I really like the direction that they took with Tom
Mhm.
Holland and his iteration of it. Like I liked most of them. I didn't like hate Andrew Garfield or anything like that. Like that one I feel gets like the slam. I did think
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3 was pretty terrible. That was one where I
Oh,
was
yeah,
like,
for sure.
or cringy, I guess is like the better word for it. It was
Mhm.
just like this
Yeah.
is, it wasn't terrible. Like I had fun, but there were just parts of it where you're like, yeah, this is just really cringy.
Felt
That's
phoned in across the board
yeah,
too. Like,
yeah, kind of a big letdown, especially with all the hype behind it for sure. Like it just that definitely. But I'm real excited for it. With that and Doctor Strange, I feel like they're doing some really cool things. I'm excited for this multiverse thing. I love stuff like that in stories, like real, just surreal time stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, sign me up.
I don't think you'll be disappointed in the
Awesome,
movie. So,
awesome. I hear it's super good.
mhm.
I've missed that, and I missed the Batman too, and I hear the Batman is really good too.
I haven't
So
seen that yet. Yeah,
okay,
yep,
I'm kind of. I haven't seen
I
that.
very much enjoyed that.
I'm sad I haven't
And
seen it.
as a person who has made a stink about I really want to get back to a more either fantasy or adventure esque a la like Indiana Jones, the Mummy type Batman. This
Mhm.
wasn't a Batman I was super excited for, and I came out the other end of it being like, all right, damn it, I'll watch like give me another one.
yeah, I
All
heard it
right,
watches
man.
like a David Fincher
I'm
film, right?
Marcus.
I
Yeah.
heard it has
Well,
like
and
a
it's like
real
the comparisons aside, that like yeah, David Fincher and all those is something I always hear, but there's still something different about it that even separates it from those type of films to me. But we can't talk about it till you guys have seen
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I don't want
yeah,
to ruin
yeah.
it for you. Um, but yeah, no, great film. It is a long one.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's a
3 hours,
3 hour
right?
film. Yeah.
Fucking deer
Mhm.
hunter over there.
I'll be honest with you, like despite the length, and at the end I was like, "Ooh, man, that was long." I'd watch a longer version of it, like a director's cut longer version
Yeah,
of it.
Nice.
And not
Okay,
like a
that's good.
director's cut like Zack Snyder gets like several million extra dollars director's cut. But
yeah,
like
yeah.
hey, these are some stuff we cut out of the film. Like I know they've already released one scene that they cut out of the film. Have you all seen anything about that?
Aiden was telling me
Mm-mm.
about it.
Okay. Yeah, they cut out a scene of the Batman visiting a criminal in Arkham State Hospital, and it actually is a scene that if they had left in the film, I wouldn't have minded it. In fact, it would have made another part of the film better had they left this big cutting. Again, I don't want to spoil too much of it.
Yeah,
But the Batman's awesome.
awesome.
Um, something else I did this week I was really, really excited about is Megan, you'll be happy because I have struggled to read comics, particularly web comics. I just haven't found the one for me. But DC started publishing this thing called Wayne Family Adventures. And so on Webtoons, there is a Webtoon all about basically the Batman family. And it is so good. Tom, like last night, I came home after playing Magic and I was like, oh, I'm tired. And ended up reading these Webtoons for like another hour because
Dang.
it's just really good and really wholesome. And then honestly, the nice thing about the positivity in this uh in this web comic is that for someone who's read the regular comics and knows certain storylines, it there's references to those events and those things that it's like, oh, that's so cool. They kind of half mention that, So just as like, it's kind of a reward for you having read stuff. And it's sometimes deeper cuts than like, the Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that everyone's read, or the Long Halloween. Like some of them refer to recent events in the Batman mythos. So
Very cool.
Nice.
really, really cool. Like what they're doing with all the characters. And the central character seems to be Duke Thomas, who's like one of the newest members of the team. He was a part of a group in this book called We Are Robin, when a group of young, or I think orphaned kids take up like the Robin mantle in the city at Wild,
Mm-hmm.
and then his parents are driven insane by the Joker. It's really, really tragic, and he gets taunted with that on several occasions. But and I can't remember exactly how his power works out, but he's become a hero called the Signal. Um, and he's really, really cool. I really like him.
Very cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, if you're having trouble getting in, so if anyone who's listening, if you're having trouble getting into webtoons, but you do like DC Comics, definitely check out Wayne Family Adventures. It's great. It's such a nice read.
I kind of want
Um,
to read that, even though I don't
it's
really.
it is like great. And if you're curious to who some of the characters are, because there's one thing, they always try to make Batman to be this loner, and this really highlights the fact that Bruce Wayne is so far from alone and has been for years, that I wish they'd stop playing up the I'm a lone man. No, you've got like 20 people. Like you have like 5 adopted children at this point. You have
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
actual child, Damien. You have people you've met outside. You've taken in this other woman, Cassandra Cain, who is like an assassin orphan, or an orphan assassin, like
An
like
assassin orphan.
or an assassin orphan.
She's
That doesn't
dead.
make sense. Um, like it's what I remember liking about Batman Inc. as a concept years ago. They brought out where Bruce announces he's going to fund Batman Incorporated, because he was like, I don't have to be alone. I'm not alone. And so Batman Inc. is about bringing these Batman-esque characters from across the world together.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was such a cool concept.
Yeah, I bet it's probably cool seeing everyone together
Yeah.
in that story too.
Yeah. And then at the end of Batman Inc., Robin gets killed by a super aged version of himself that's also kind of gigantic and bald, and he gets stabbed through the chest in front of Nightwing. And then Bruce goes mad and teams up with some villains, and eventually goes to Apocalypse and resurrects his son. you know,
Yes.
comics.
You come, yeah. Oh, and crazy like local recent comic-ish news. Like we haven't talked about this yet. Like, but like the author of Pearls Before Swine, like the illustrator of that, he I was, I guess, visiting Little Rock and did a doodle on the Whitewater Tavern bathroom wall or whatever, and they
Oh, that's cool.
sealed it in plastic to like make it permanent so that no one
Hell yeah.
could
I
go
love
over
that
it.
so
So
much. Oh, that's so
that's
cool.
really cool. Yeah. So that's like something great you can go and look at locally that is pretty neat that
Yeah,
that's
and
there. And I
Whitewater
love
Tavern's a great
it's
place to hang
on
out.
the like one of the best places in Little Rock in the bathroom wall. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else been doing anything lately special?
Megan, you want to go first?
About things I've been doing that are special. I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna say anything.
Megan's like, listen, I'm alive again this week. Yay.
Hey, that's always something to.
Yeah, I don't know. Not much. Not a whole lot going on.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Life's not always an exciting adventure.
I went to the mall for the first time in a long time. That
Ooh,
was
which
weird.
one?
Yeah.
The Park Plaza?
No.
Oh.
I was say, because you would have gone the
McCain.
same day. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to Park Plaza, and there was a
in-
shooting that day there, so I was like,
There was a
why I
shooting
don't
this weekend too.
Go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that's
this
why.
weekend
Oh,
was
that's
a
where
shooting.
you went? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't go to Park Plaza. People get shot there like a lot
On the regular.
So no, I went to McCain. I'm not a mall person really. I mean, I was when I was a kid, so it was fun to, I don't know, be back and
Yeah, it's kind of
Meg-
dead in there
but
too, though, right?
yeah.
Megan
Yeah.
is
It's a
like
little
totally
weird.
a mall person, and she loves to go shopping and find the best
Shut
deals
up.
at like
I do go to Hot
Abercrombie
Topic.
and Banana Republic and Hot
Gotta go to
Topic.
Hot Topic.
Gotta get
Yes.
my like super like
The fuck is wrong with you?
anti-establishment outfits at Hot Topic.
I don't think so.
I used
shop
to.
at,
So I can look like
thrift
Harley
stores,
Quinn and the
man.
Joker.
No.
Sorry, that was my best impression of Meg. It was equivalent to your
I-
impression of me.
I wasn't. That's fair. No, that's fair. That's definitely fair.
Anywho, but it's okay that, you know, even with the mall being the most exciting thing, that, you know, sometimes, whether you realize it or not, those calm, quiet moments can make a good story, and that's what made the book we're going to talk about today such a good story, because it is a memoir of a single sit-down evening between a group of women in the same family. And I don't think it's necessarily like word for word a single sitting she had with her family members.
I don't
But
think it's not family, all family either. It's
Yeah,
family
it's the
stuff.
one's the
Yeah.
neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
it's oh, you're all right.
To interrupt.
But it's just really cool how like she turned like something that seems like such a regular moment into this really, really engrossing story of these women just sharing their experiences. So before we get started on actually talking about it, I'm going to read a little bit about it. So in case someone hasn't read it yet, is interested in it, they know what's kind of coming. The synopsis from the book is from the best-selling author of Persepolis comes this gloriously entertaining and enlightening look into the sex lives of Iranian women. Embroideries gathers together Marjane's tough-talking grandmother, stoic mother, glamorous and eccentric aunt, and their friends and neighbors for an afternoon of tea drinking and talking. Naturally, the subject turns to love, sex, and the vagaries of men. As the afternoon progresses, these vibrant women share their secrets, their regrets, and their often outrageous stories about, among other things, how to fake one's virginity, which is a highlight story of mine from this one, how to escape an arranged marriage, how to enjoy the miracles of plastic surgery, and how to delight in being a mistress. By turns revealing and hilarious, these are stories about the lengths to which some women will go to find a man, keep a man, or most important, keep up appearances. And a little bit about Marjane, too. Marjane Satrapi was born in 1969, and she is an Iranian born artist, writer, and director, known most famously for her graphic memoir Persepolis. And in fact, there are four in the West. There are two Persepolis books because each book combines two of the books. So technically, there are four Persepolis books.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Persepolis and its subsequent sequels detail her own life in the graphic format. I think everyone should go and check these out. So I'm just going to bullet point some pieces of her biography because if you want to know detail about her life and experiences, reading those books is what you should be doing. So Marjane's childhood experiences with persecution and revolution greatly informed the way she thinks. She was actually very close with her revolutionary uncle, who was eventually executed for his political beliefs. And in fact, one of the last family member that he supposedly talked to was Marjane. He was given one person to be able to talk to, and he asked for his niece. So, encouraged by her uncle's bravery and even her own parents' encouragement, she got in a little bit of trouble with the police at an early age for not dressing to code and buying illegal materials like music, stuff that was banned. Although her parents had encouraged her to stand for what she believed in, they became fearful for her safety and sent her to finish school in Austria, where she ended up hopping between homes and even lived briefly on the streets. She later returned to Iran to attend college, but left again eventually to live in France. She still holds residence there and has since published multiple graphic memoirs and directed multiple prize winning films, including the animated film adaptation of her book Persepolis, which I didn't know that she also had a hand in directing and writing the screenplay for that.
It's funny because that's how I had heard of Persepolis originally, was
Oh, really?
seeing like the animation from that movie.
Now that we kind of know what it's about, so just to start off, what are your guys' base feelings about the book? How did you feel about it? What'd you think?
The first time I read it, it was really surprising. This was my second time going through it, when we read it for the podcast. But I was really surprised by a lot of the stories. You know, I read the synopsis and I was like, okay, this is what this is about, cool. And then I read it and I was like, oh god.
Yeah,
Okay. These are things that happened. Um but yeah, no. It's a it's a great read.
it is. It's a great book. It's such a fast read. You can zip through it.
Mhm.
I feel like I read it in like 30 minutes. Like it
Yeah.
just flies.
Well, yeah, and it's an enlightening read too. To start diving in deeper, like I enjoyed the heck out of it, and honestly, I was really unsure about reading a graphic memoir. Meg, you have always talked about all these graphic memoirs that you've read, and I'm like, that's neat. That's not for me. And you might have
That's neat.
changed,
Megan.
Neato burrito. You might have changed my mind
Well,
about
that's good because I
reading
think that's the
these.
way. Like they're like the
Yeah,
Amazing.
best.
They are.
like
Yeah.
it's so good, and I've read some other graphic memoirs and I enjoyed them enough, but I think the I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because it's this quiet moment and how energetic this seemingly quiet moment is and all the stories that they share. And so instead of it being just Marjane sharing her story, it's a group of people all sharing very different stories. I mean, heck, what was it? I believe one of her aunts like was talking about how, and for anyone who's listening, know that because it's talking about sex and stuff, we are going to talk about sexual organs and stuff like that. So if that makes you uncomfortable, you may not want to listen to this episode. But one of her aunts had, multiple children and had been married for years and had never actually seen a
That was
penis.
so fucking
Yeah,
funny.
that was.
That was one of my favorite parts of
And
the
the
book.
exact quote
It's
from one
just
of the
wild.
characters, they were like, "It's not disgusting, that little skin that hangs. The foreskin? No, it's okay. I think that generally speaking, a dick isn't really photogenic." And then someone else pops up. I quite agree.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I was reading this last night and I had a friend over and so I had our friend and my husband and I was just like, yeah, guys, penises are ugly. And they were just like, yeah, one of them was like, yeah, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
And
The tea scene was another one that
That
was
that was my favorite. My
pretty
favorite
incredible.
scene. Yeah.
ooh, tell us
That
about
was
the
the
T
best
scene.
one.
Where she is trying they go see like the psychic and she tells them of the like this just I mean insane like roundabout way of getting him to drink this what was it, like fertility tea, I guess, or what was the purpose of the
I don't
tea?
even remember what the purpose of the tea was because
It,
it was talking about his mom. I guess to go ahead with the marriage.
yeah, because it wasn't like, it seemed like a like like different sitcoms where you've watched like like an old school fertility ritual where they're trying to
Yeah.
have a girl or whatever,
And
or
maybe
something
that
like that.
And
was.
that's what it was. It was very similar to like if you face the
Yeah,
north
face the
and do
eastern wall and
that.
eat 3 lemons, like
Yeah.
that kind of. But that wasn't like, it was like, yeah, like it was like the kind of like to get
Mhm.
him to want to commit,
Yeah.
like
And I
that
guess if she did
was.
get pregnant, I mean that would.
Yeah, so I couldn't tell
So
if
I don't
like
know.
that was
Yeah,
it wasn't like super explicit on like, oh yeah,
it
she was
was not.
trying to get pregnant
Mhm.
to get him to commit, but just that was the frustration, because
Mhm.
throughout the stories you just kind of have the common theme that they're just dealing with a lot of these like shithead guys,
Yeah.
Okay,
um
here's the description. Here, take this key. You prepare some tea. You sleep with him. Once he's ejaculated, careful. He must come in you. You put the key in your vagina. You count to 7. Then you remove the key
So
and
good.
put it into a cup. You pour the tea on top. You count to 7. The last step is to remove the key. Tea prepared like this should be drunk by your heart's chosen one in the 77 seconds that follow ejaculation. There, that'll be 3,000 tumens, which is equivalent to $40 in 1991. And then it makes comment
Anyway,
of like how quickly she had to do all of
yeah.
that
So
because
she
yep.
she's like
did it,
running around.
and it was difficult because he didn't want tea. So she
He
did
was
this
like,
like
no. She had to do it
multiple
multiple times.
times.
Yeah. Yep.
He's
And
like,
then the
no, I'm
last
good.
panel,
The
he was
last
just
panel.
like,
Yeah.
he's like, what is this white stuff? I don't want to
This
drink
is white stuff floating on
this."
top. I can't drink this.
Oh my god! And then
Incredible.
the woman who's just like the whole time they're laughing about this story. She's just like, "What white stuff? I don't understand."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're like,
Oh
oh,
man,
amazing. Amazing.
they're like, "Don't worry, it's fine."
And then there's also another one of my favorite pages is there, and it was so interesting just hearing about a bunch of different, like, each of them had either a slight or considerable difference in how they felt about men and relationships and sex.
Mm-hmm.
But when talking about one of them was talking about being a mistress, and it details, like, they're like, she's basically puts out there, she's like, well, when you're a mistress, he's always trying for you, whereas when you're married, they stop trying. But the panel that I just think is so great is the last thing she says towards that is, he's there to have a good time with you, and it's a full page of her and the man she's a mistress for riding a horse. Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very good.
That
it's
was.
like, yep, that's what they're doing, just having a good old time horse riding.
It's
Can
very good.
we also talk about how hard I lolled at this guy
Oh,
right
it's so good.
here,
Oh
which I think
yeah.
So
is
good.
her neighbor's, like,
It is.
proposed husband, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
When you
Yeah,
finally
very
see a
good.
photograph of him, you're like, jeez.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
Yes, and then
Incredible.
when talking about him, they're like, yes, his physical beauty masks the darkness of his soul.
Oh
I know,
my
it's so
goodness.
good.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that and the one where at the wedding it's just the photograph of the husband is pretty incredible
Oh my
too.
god, yes. The husband didn't show up and it was just a photograph of him there.
Oh yeah, photograph in the chair, man. And like, that was one of those things where she had gotten they got engaged, and was that the one where he had moved off, or the
That's what
one
I'm
that she
looking
had
right
never
now,
met
because the
him?
other one that stuck out was the one that moves to Germany. And I'm
Yeah,
trying to
one
see
one in one
which
of the
one that
stories,
was.
they knew the man, but then he moved off. But in another one, they had never met at all. They just wanted to get their daughter out of the
Oh
country,
no, that wasn't the same.
right?
The one with the portrait in the chair was not the one that where the
That was
husband
the
had moved
like
off.
the one they had the very young daughter and
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And he slept under the bed and howled like a jackal.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Yep.
If you haven't read this, you're very confused, but I hope it's
Yeah.
intriguing and you go read it.
Yeah, like I do hope it's intriguing, because it's just a bunch of, like, real, it feels like real stories and experiences of a variety of people. And I on the Goodreads reviews, I had seen that, some people found the book to be a bit sexist, and their point of view was that they're like, oh, the women are separated from the men, and they're all just gossiping. And that, and the problem I have with that point of view, on because that's what happens is, in that culture, in Iran, the men and women retire after a meal to different rooms. They do not stay together. The women are going to clean up while the men go basically rest, after eating, which doesn't make sense.
That is
And-
not too uncommon.
yeah,
Wow, that sounds like
yeah,
Thanksgiving dinner.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I think part of it is, well, that's the nature of the culture, and, like, that's where some of the differences lie. But when you hear about some of the women's stories, that's where some of the similarities are too. Like, that's the purpose, I think, is she's like, here is definitely what is happening, culturally here. And it's not, I don't think it's offensive to say that sometimes when people are together in a group, they gossip. You know,
Yeah,
I
that
think
is
that's,
always
and
going to
talk about
happen.
stuff that's going, and honestly, not just gossip, but just talk about stuff that's going on. I'm not sure what else you talk about.
I love
Um,
the grandmother's
That's
quote at the beginning of the book when she says, "To speak behind others' back is the ventilator of the heart."
yeah,
I love that.
yeah, and like for some people, that's definitely that kind of stuff is a part of the conversation. Even they talk about Western ideals coming into their culture,
Mhm.
and like I don't know. I feel like if that's your critique of the book on Goodreads, that you
You
kind of
missed
didn't
it.
read part of it. Like
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
missed like some key parts of their conversation, because it's weird to like take these the conversation that these women are having and lump it into that way, because what I think she does a great job of is each woman in the group has a very specific personality,
Mhm.
and you kind of get a feel for the vibe that they have in their family and friend group. So it's like, some of the women are quiet, some of the women are gossipy, some of them are, like more bold than the other. Like, it's just that's too much of a generalization, I think.
Mhm.
And and maybe if they, I'm wondering if maybe they were just so unaware of the fact that this wasn't, an American book. Like, I think it's really
Yeah,
important to understand that context culturally, that like, you know, the men going to one room and the women going to this room is, that's a part of a different, you know, a different a different culture. And like even then, it's still sometimes here in American culture, but in American, people don't like typically care to see that in American culture, some of those things, or it's maybe not as prominent. But this is just the way that it is for Marjane's family where they're from.
I
which
was gonna say
is
even if oh god, sorry, go ahead.
no, you go
No.
ahead. You go
I
right
was just
ahead.
gonna say even if you don't like seeing it, that if it's still a reality, that doesn't make it sexist. It makes it
Exactly.
representative of what's going on.
Yes.
Yes, that was
That's
exactly. Yeah, I
very
was like,
weird.
but that's her story she's telling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's real weird to argue with her perspective of it like that.
Mm.
Like that's exactly what I was thinking too.
Your experience was sexist. How dare you write about it? uh and we didn't really talk at all about her like illustration style, but I like it a lot, and it's the same in Persepolis. I love it
Yeah,
as
yeah,
kind
her
of a
drawing
last
style
book.
is really good. It's like the same way they animated the film too, like
Hmm.
her art style.
And I had read she preferred when they made the film, she felt it would operate best as an animation instead of giving
Yeah,
live action.
I like.
And
I've never seen it, but that seems like the right choice. But I
when
don't. I have to watch
she's
it.
so good in that, like, at face value, her work seems very simple. It's very dark, bold lines all over the place. But she manages to, in the faces, draw things to ensure that you are not confused as to who's talking. They're all still all the characters are still very unique looking, despite the overall art seeming like it's simple.
it's always like how the characters look and what they're doing, like the personality that they have. I think
Hmm.
is like I like yeah. It's funny because it's a lot of like flat stuff. There's no shading and stuff like that, except for the high contrast, like
Hmm.
black on white. But it's so stylistic and original, and I feel like it would be really hard to imitate. Like it's definitely one of those things where people can look at that and be like, "Oh, I could do that," and then fail
Oh,
miserably at
that's
trying
so
to
true.
Yes.
Oh my
recreate.
god.
That's
And
exactly
so
what kind of style this is.
it's 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 just like it's genius because it's just such an automatic original. Like when you see one of her
Hmm.
drawings, you're like, "That's hers."
Hmm.
And I think like that in itself is such a talent. I feel too like it's really neat because I feel like she definitely uses like India ink and a brush maybe, or some sort of like imitation of that technique, and so it gives it like a really neat feel to the line work, um, which you don't see a lot of in like you know weekly comic books. Like
Hmm.
like that's not a you don't really in the books that I see for weeklies in stores and stuff like that, that kind of variation in the media doesn't really pop out like that. I feel you don't really see that.
At best, you might see like a very short limited series in that style done by
Yeah,
a very specific author or artist,
or
but you don't
cover.
once. Yeah, or like an alternate cover, and
Yeah,
even then, like not really, rarely an alternate covers are so weird sometimes. The things they decide to do, because it's one of those things that's interesting about what gets popular and what people like.
yeah. And I thought, it'd be great if they had more freedom to play around with that because I feel like that's sometimes the thing that I notice in a book. And it's funny, like we have this, which is very, it's very like hand drawn, and it feels very intimate because of like the nature of the story and stuff like that. And it's almost kind of perfect that we're doing Jimmy Corrigan next because it's very, very different in the way that it's presented. Like Chris Ware, it almost looks like a machine drew it, like the like minimalism
Yes.
of the
Oh, cool.
lines and like how clean and like just precise everything is in the panel. So
Dang. Okay. I'm
it's going to
excited
be
to see
like
it.
a big juxtaposition to like
Mm-hmm.
this book.
And we'll get to. Well,
I
I
don't mean
want
to
to.
jump. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
my bad. I'm
just
sorry.
jumping around,
I'm
Tom. You
sorry. I'm
rude.
sorry. It
No,
tied
no,
together with the art.
no. It's funny because like we are kind of ready to, I think, move on because we're going to get to a point where we're getting too deep into the book that we're going to
Oh.
confuse people.
Oh, I did want to
Um,
bring up one other part about the book though that was crazy that I feel like I never read it is that the grandmother's an opium addict.
Yeah.
yes,
And that's
that's
such a
revealed very early.
huge bomb to reveal early. And
Mm-hmm.
then we just move into the conversation and you're like,
Yeah.
to the like
Wait.
an opium addict to the point where she's a completely different personality off of
Yes.
it, where like the
Mm-hmm.
withdrawal's so miserable she's like just kind of ferocious.
Well, and I think that speaks to like the family's experiences and that like it's such a norm at this point
Yes.
for the family that they think nothing of it. That and I think maybe that was what she was trying to get across like things are different to different people in different groups and the grandma grew, came about in a time where like that was something she didn't have to worry about as much and now she is an opium addict and that's just one day grandma's gonna, try to bite your leg off, and the next day she's gonna be giving you sweets.
Well, especially because we just know how dangerous opiates are now,
Hmm.
like that. So that was oh wow.
Yeah. First, like 3 pages of the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, it's in fact, let's see here.
So we're discussing the
Uh,
samovar, correct?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's the third page. Yeah, where she's like, it's like in the morning, Grandma, do you want a cup of tea? Shut up. Um, and then was it her grandma before that bastard is such a moron, and then the other asshole, those disgusting women. But then later on, she's like, "So, my beloved granddaughter, how are you? Well." And
Yeah.
Marjane is like, "Well, better than a minute ago."
And even in the reasoning of it is a bit skeptical. She's like, my grandmother was an opium addict. The doctor had told her to take it to lessen her pain. In any case, that's what she said.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
like there's definitely like the tone of like,
Mm-hmm.
does she need this, or is it just at this point the only way she functions is,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
that was a part that, like I said, it was like they don't revisit that, but that's definitely got to be a weight hanging over,
Yeah.
you know.
And I feel like reading the first two books before reading this, I feel like there are parts that are like, yes, this makes sense because of all this shit that everyone went
Hmm.
through. Yeah.
So you would say like Persepolis definitely informs this book a little bit better, maybe
I would say a little.
a
I
little.
mean,
The
I
what they're covering culturally is very different. I feel.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked having the other two books kind of in the back of my mind while I was reading it, but I don't think
Yeah.
it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
No.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
because it's definitely a very different focus of like
Hmm.
what she's trying to.
I don't necessarily have an answer to this myself, but before we move on to Jimmy Corrigan, that Tom spoiled.
Wow, Tom.
Damn it.
I love it. No, it was perfect. It came out so naturally. Was there was there anything about the book that you didn't like?
I let me think. No, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same place. Like I liked every aspect of it. And if that's the case, then I do want to say, if you'll notice, this wasn't purposeful, but I'm glad this happened. We didn't talk at all about why it's called Embroideries, and I
Oh
kind of
shit,
don't want
yeah.
to.
That's crazy.
From what we've talked about, you'd be like, "Why is this called Embroideries? Were they sewing while they're talking? What's going on?" I think that would be like a good thing for anyone who wants to pick this up to discover.
Yeah, and if we don't talk about it, fine. I do think it's weirdly important, but
It is worth. I mean, we can if you guys
no,
want.
it's fine. No, you should
Um,
just read it.
yeah, you should
Yeah, be
definitely just read
surprised
it.
when
Yeah,
reading it. And
yeah,
like I
read
said,
it.
Yeah.
that's like kind of the fun of the book too, is like Persepolis is so grand and epic, right? And
Mhm.
this is just it's
One
just this
afternoon.
one afternoon in an
An afternoon. Yep.
apartment, you know,
Mhm.
In a single room.
and like it definitely focuses like on definitely some of the cultural aspects that come up in the other
Mhm.
story, but just in a completely different way. That's
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just a complete. It's such a different feel, and yeah, yeah, that title.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, oh,
I
it's
remember
such a nice title. It's
I audibly was like,
embroidery.
"Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh."
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, oh yeah.
Oh man,
So
and that was actually one of the best panels too. The when her list overhearing
At the
those women
funeral?
at the funeral.
Yes. The way
Oh
it's like
my
the
god,
silhouettes and like you could just you
so
can't see the faces, but
funny.
you can see
But
the
you
faces.
can.
Yes.
Oh my
Yep.
god, the her like
100%.
anyway, yeah, that we're
this
not
there's
gonna,
a
but
reason
it's
that
good.
this author illustrator has won so many
She's
awards
brilliant.
because she's got it down.
Yeah, she knows what she's
Um
doing.
So I hope that our next author also knows what they're doing, because Tom has picked, in case you hadn't heard, a very different, at least in art style, book for our next book called Jimmy Corrigan, the Smartest Boy on Earth, the Smartest Kid on Earth.
Yes.
Now, before I read a synopsis from the book, I do want to tell you guys that there is a DC character named Jim Corrigan, and for the longest time, I thought I had seen this title, Jimmy Corrigan, where I was like, "Who the hell wrote about Jim Corrigan as a kid?" Because
Oh
Jim
dang.
Corrigan is a detective who becomes the Spectre in DC Comics, and he's also a corrupt cop in Gotham Gotham Central, or basically he's a corrupt cop in Gotham during one of those series. And so I was like, who would write about him as a kid? This is weird. That is not what this book is about. It is not about the DC character of Jim Corrigan. It is Jimmy Corrigan, and I mean Tom's right. Like the art just from the cover, you can tell it's wildly different from
Yeah.
what we've just read. So it is the tragic autobiography of an office dog's body in Chicago who one day meets the father who abandoned him as a child. With a subtle, complex, and moving story, and the drawings that are as simple and original as they are strikingly beautiful, Jimmy Corrigan is a book unlike any other, and certainly not to be missed. And it looks like one of the accolades, it says it's one of the Guardian's 100 best books of the 21st century.
Yeah.
Um, I do have one complaint about y'all's choices so far, though.
Hmm.
Y'all are picking two of the best books written in the last like 20, 30 years. So you're really raising the bar for me on what I pick. And I do not appreciate it at all.
Ha.
You're monsters.
They're good titles
So
to cover though, because we've had the conversation of like this medium being celebrated as a higher art form, and
mhm.
these are two pieces that do elevate it.
And I'm going to blow you guys away with what I pick. And what I pick, not only are you not going to see it coming, but I guarantee that you'll love it.
Heck yeah, I'm
I've got a
excited.
list I've
I'm
already
scared.
started.
Yeah, I'm scared. Yeah, that's true. That is another option to feel as well with like what he picks. I'm like,
Okay.
Excellent. But until then, we're going to be reading Jimmy Corrigan this month. So make sure, if you want to read along with us and share some of your thoughts on it, to join the book club, all you have to go is go to the VF Comics and Graphics Facebook page. You'll find a link in the description below. And one of the groups on that page is for this book club. And I do ask a couple questions when you join, but unless you're just like, let me in so I can post pictures of, I don't know, unless you're just an awful
Dicks.
person, openly awful person, just dicks everywhere. I am going to, let you in. I'm just curious about, because I'd like to find, some things that listeners want to read as well. So we will definitely do that. And I think that's it for us this week.
Yay! It's a fun episode.
Megan, were you saying no?
I was saying, I wasn't saying anything. That was just my face that I
Oh, that's
chose.
just your face. That's...
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for listening to the VF Comics Graphics podcast and our first book club episode. We hope that you go again, read Embroideries by Marjane Satrapi, the author of Persepolis, and even I hope you go and read Persepolis like I am going to now that you've seen it. Make sure to check us out on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. You'll find all those links in the description below, so you can catch up on all sorts of comic and graphic novel news and ideas. And honestly, we just want to help you find something good to read and encourage reading. So come on down. Yeehaw.
And take a look.
It's in a book. We did it fast that time. Yeah. Anyways, we'll see y'all next week. Bye.